watch it regardless.
You know, the unlimited bazooka cannons and the
Yeah.
destruction of the dollar and all the current, I mean, we already see the, you know, IMF or the BIS calling for digital currencies with their SDRs,
Yeah,
which
I
maybe
know.
like Chinese to people listening. But I'm curious, based off that video, I mean, if this QE infinity and diminishing returns and it all fails, no confidence left in currencies, the argument is the only way to restore confidence is to go back to some gold standard, whether that's 1% or 100%. Do you think there's a good probability of that happening, a very low probability, or no chance, or where do you sit?
I think there's a very good probability that we'll have to have a currency. I have no idea what currency it will be. I don't know if it'll be digital. I would assume it would be digital. I don't know if that's a digital SDR or a digital dollar or Libra, who knows, something like that. But, or maybe a Bitcoin, maybe, hopefully. I mean, that would be awesome from a philosophical standpoint. There's nothing more that I'd like to see than to have a decentralized currency as what we use in the world to transact. But I don't think the governments would be too keen on that, to say the least.
Why would
But
they ever vote to tie their hands behind their back, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to have a government-backed digital currency, it gives them so much control. I don't think most people understand. I don't think they've pulled back the layer of the onion, because I hear a lot of people on Twitter or even in the comments of my videos, they say, well, the dollar, it already is a digital currency. I mean, I don't really use paper money. I just use electronic digits on my bank account, and I use an ATM card. And what they're not understanding is, if we had a true, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we had a true digital currency, the way where they've each token, let's call it, has a serial number, and they track that, it goes to someone's electronic wallet, then the Fed or the government could control not only the supply, but they could control the demand. And most people don't realize that. As an example, they could say, okay, here's your $1,200 worth of MMT for this month, but you got to spend it in the next 48 hours.
Sure. It's programmable.
Yeah, exactly. It's programmable. That's
so
specific.
You have to spend in this time frame. You can only use it for these certain things. Like it can be stopped, seized, whatever. So for sure, that's what they'd want. And I think that's kind of where it goes, is like a digital SDR most likely. But I would think it maybe has to have some gold backing. Maybe it's 10%
that's where I was going with that for sure. It's a great point. I think that eventually the fiat currency system that we've been trying out since 1971 is, and kind of going back to Bretton Woods, that's going to collapse. And I think you're going to have a total loss of confidence in not only the dollar, the yen, the euro, you name it. I don't think that's tomorrow, but I think 10 years, 15 years down the road, that's where we're going to be. And to your point, any currency is all about confidence. Any economy really is all about confidence. So to instill the confidence, I don't think the government or the IMF or whomever is issuing this currency is going to have a choice but to back it with something that people have confidence in. And again, going back to Twitter and my comments, a lot of people say, oh, the government would never back it with gold. That's crazy. That ties their hand. But they're implying that the government has a choice.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know that they would have a choice. Now, whether the digital SDR or the digital dollar is backed by 1%, 100%, 40%, who knows? But, and then, of course, I think what will happen, so in the short term, I think you'll have this digital fiat that gives them total control. I think that blows up. They have to have something that's backed by gold. But I only think that lasts maybe 10, 20 years, where everyone forgets what happened with the disaster of fiat currency. And you have all these politicians or economists start claiming that, oh yeah, our problem is this stupid gold standard. We got to get off this gold standard. If we could only have the ability and the control over the amount of currency in the system, then we could just solve all the problems and we could just print money, and everyone's going to forget about what happened 10, 15 years ago, just like everyone now or 30 days ago forgot what happened in the GFC.
Right.
They totally forgot. Oh yeah, that was, the market can never go down. You hear all these things. The narrative is was exactly like it was back in 2008, 2007. It's shocking
Right.
that the recency bias of not only the mainstream media, but the population at large, and that they just have this kind of like a selective amnesia, where if it's cognitive dissonance type of rationalizing, where if it makes them feel good about their 401k or whatever they have invested in the market, if that's going to give them more purchasing power in the future, then they just kind of tend to forget things that are inconvenient, or make up things, or cherry pick data points to make it easier to sleep at night, knowing that the stock market always goes up, right? And the dollar is always going to be the world reserve currency. Well, I don't think so.